All right, we're live. I'm not sure if everybody who's able to see me at this point. We were just we were running into a few snags here as we were getting this set up with our webinar platform. If you are on, could you just put something in the chat area there? There's a chat area. And let's see, is everybody able to see the video? If not, please refresh your page. Let me try that myself. Is anybody, can you see me here? We're doing a relay. So what's happening is it's going through YouTube and then up into our webinar platform. And so we want to, Andrea says yes, you see us. Oh, awesome. That is awesome. I can't even see me here. Let me just do a refresh on mine. A few little kinks as we're getting this all. There we are. A few little kinks as we're getting this all adjusted and tweaked. And it seems like the only time you can really get this tweaked and adjusted is when you go live. And so that's what we're doing. Well, that's good. Everybody's on, and you can see it. Thanks, Matt, for giving some instruction there for us. Appreciate that. All right, we've got a jam-packed hour planned for you. Thanks for showing up for this webinar. We're going to be talking about time management. And for those of you, I used to teach time management for quite a few years. And time management is one of those terms. I don't really care for the word time management because we really don't manage time. We manage the activities or our actions within the context of time. But for everybody's sake, we'll just keep calling it time management. It actually started back in the early 1900s, around 1911. Frederick Winslow Taylor, he started a whole movement called the scientific management, and he connected up with two other people, Frank and Lillian Gilbreth, and basically that's when time management really came into existence. But now, it's kind of morphed a bit, it's changed a bit with technology. We've got to-do lists, we've got all sorts of different things that we can do to manage our time and our activities. Now, within ACT, we're going to be dealing with calendars because calendars are still the big thing, task lists, calendars, those sorts of things. So that's what we're going to be focusing on today. And we're going to be talking about a couple of different types of activities. Now, this isn't a time management lesson. We're not going to be going through all the deep dive of managing your time. However, we're going to be focusing on how to manage your time in the context of ACT. And we're going to be focusing on two types of activity types, proactive and reactive activity types. So if you've ever followed David Allen's books, he's got a few of them out there now on getting things done. A lot of the stuff that he does is reactionary. You've got stuff coming in at you, emails, you've got phone calls, you've got stuff coming in, and then you've got to decide what you're going to do with those, whether you're going to delegate them, you're going to do them yourself, you're going to put them in a calendar, what have you. And so that's more reactionary things. And then we have proactive things, and that would be kind of like the late Stephen Covey created the quadrants, the 4 quadrants: urgent, important, not important, those sorts of things. And it's like, proactive. I'm going to kind of give a little bit different slant and kind of wrap it around how we would use both of those, reactive and proactive, in the context of managing your day and managing them in ACT. Now, I know a lot of people out there, maybe not so much the clients that are here, but a lot of people use Outlook for managing their calendar. And that's not a bad thing if you're in a large organization, but there's some disconnects with the Outlook calendar in the sense that it's a free-form calendar. What I mean by that is you drag off some time, you book what you want to do on that time, the day passes by, and that's all that happens. Within ACT, it actually works a little bit different. It actually connects to contacts within the database, and they're either active activities or they're cleared activities where they create a history. And so that's kind of how that works. Now I'm just going to hang on here. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Gary Robillard. I'll be your host today. And I had some people asking me, hey, Gary, what are those things you got hearing aids now? And no, these are not hearing aids. These are earbuds, so that when Jared is on there, Jared, you're on here, right? He's unmuting himself.
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, just want to make sure. Yeah, so this is so we don't get reverb from my microphone here, reverb back in. So no, I'm not that old yet where I need hearing aids. Although my wife would swear that I need hearing aids, where she has to remind me things several times. So we're going to dive in. We've got about an hour. I might squeak you a little bit more if I have to. We're going to go through the basics of time management within using proactive and reactive activities, show you some of the ins and outs of the ACT database using the calendar. And then I'm going to show you halfway through or 3/4 of the way through, I'm going to show you DayManager, an add-on to ACT, which really helps with time management even to the next level. So let's move to the next screen here. All right, so here we are. Let me just move a few little things out of the way here. Move that down. Close that off. All right, here we are. Okay, so reactive activities. So let's give an example. You have somebody that gives you a call and says, hey, I'd like to book an appointment with you next week. Now, usually you may have an assistant that does this or what have you, but you're reacting to something, an email coming in, somebody calling, somebody texting. You're responding and reacting to something that comes at you. That would be a reactive activity. Now, in the past, we've covered creating a history and then creating an activity from a history. And that's one way of creating an activity as something happens. So let me just quickly, for those of you who don't remember from previous ones, if I click on history here, actually, I'm going to change this to Todd Miller. I feel like I'm going to sneeze here, so if I do, apologize. Oh. All right. I got a bit of a cold. All right, so we're in Todd Miller's record. We're going to create a history. So this is one way of creating a history. This is called an ad hoc history. So creating a history allows you to capture, maybe somebody just happened to call you. We'll say Todd just called, and let's just say he called. We received the call. And we put in our blah, blah, blahs. And oops, I'm going to copy that because I'm going to use this again. All right, so we put in our blah, blah, blahs. And then down at the bottom, it has a follow-up button where we can create an activity. And this way, it automatically links it to Todd Miller. All right. So I just wanted to show you there's a cascade effect from creating an ad hoc history. And if you're not using histories, good idea to use them for any of those things that just happen to come up, especially phone calls. All right, so let's just cancel that. We're not going to keep that. Kind of a rule of thumb, if you're going to create an activity for somebody, they call up or something, pulls up an email or a text and they want to book an appointment. Pull up the contact first. It's a little bit easier if you go and do a quick search over here, find the person and pull it up, as opposed to going to hunt the person later. Now, you don't have to do it this way. And there's a couple of different ways you can do this. You can go over to the calendar and you can view things from the calendar. You can also view things from the task list. Now, when you create an activity in ACT, that's exactly what you're creating, is an activity. And the activity is viewable in multiple locations. It's viewable on the calendar screen. That's where I spend most of my time. Then it's on the task list. Some people live and breathe in the task list. Nothing wrong with that. I personally don't. I use this for a specific purpose, the task list for myself, which I'll show you. But some people will go in here and filter this and say, okay, I just want to see the stuff for today. And they filter that for today and what they've got going on that day. And there's nothing wrong with that. And then they will go and create a call, meeting to do, or a different type of activity. Down here where it says other activity, you can see it jot out, and I can have multiples. For me, that's too many steps. So I don't tend to do it that way. I tend to go look at the calendar. And then you have history, which is anything that's clear, because what you want to do, unlike Outlook, is you want to create an activity, it's linked to somebody. If that person's not in your database, you link it to your record. And then when you're finished, when that activity is completed, you clear the activity and it creates a history under that contact's record. So that's kind of the flow behind that. Now, calendar, let's just do a quick overview of the calendar. You've got different views up at the top here. And it shows the days of the week. This is actually cut off a bit. I just realized that. All right. And so you've got your calendar on the right-hand side. And I think we've covered this before, where you could create multiple calendars just by clicking on the drop down, or the center piece right about here. And if you drag down, you can get another calendar out of that. And so there are adjustments that you can make. I'll just leave it that way. So basically, I'm on Todd Miller's record. If I was going to go and block off some time here, you'll see that it automatically links to his record. Now, you can go in and create an activity, just pull up your calendar and then grab some time on that calendar, and then go and find the person later by typing in highlighting this and then just typing in the person's last name. So if I wanted to put in Smith, there's Betty Smith right there. And if she's not the person I was trying to get a hold of, John, I can just click on that little drop down and Smith. Okay, where's John? There he is. And we're going to be linking it to John's record. So that's how you can change it on the fly. But if you get in the habit of pulling up the contacts record before you even create the activity. And in my case, we would have, in our phone system, we would have a call come in, and then we would be able to, the record would pop up and I don't have to go and search for it. So that would even be better. And that's a more advanced thing that we can do at a later time and show you some pretty cool things like that. But in this case, go look them up. The reason why it's good to look up the contact records, not just so you can create an activity. The other reason is that you can check in and you can look at notes, histories. You can see if anybody else had a conversation with that person, if there was any to-dos done or emails sent or what have you. You can kind of get a catch-up of where things are at. So it's good to look up that person's record. And then when you want to go and create an activity, you can. So here's the activity. So I'm going to go and just go through the overview of this really quick. We've got what type of activity this is. It's going to be a meeting. Date. This stuff is already filled in. You can see that there. It's all filled in. It's already linked to, now I had to go look up Smith, but in Todd Miller's case, it was already there. This little checkbox is if you want to send an Outlook meeting request. We'll get into that a little bit later. And then we have, if we wanted to create an activity series from here, we're not going to do that either. And then you can just put in what is this regarding? Demo. Whoops. Hang on here. I've got screens jumping around here. Sorry, folks. All right, so we're going to put in the blah, blah, blahs. And then you can choose your location if you want, if it's at a specific restaurant or wherever it's at. Resources. You can set this up where you have different boardrooms or projectors, anything that you're going to take with you. So you can set up a whole resource list, and I'll show you where you can go and set up the resources. And then you have, so a lot of this is already filled out. A lot of this is already done for you. And then all you really have to do is put in the regarding, any resources if needed, location if you want to put that in. You can type in Zoom if it's a Zoom meeting. And then priority. Usually you're not going to worry about priority color, but you may want an alarm. So maybe I want this 5 minutes before this meeting. I want it to, hey, let me know that I've got this meeting set up. And that's pretty much the basics. You can go into some extra stuff here, which we'll go into in a sec. So we're going to just press OK, and you can see that automatically clicked up John Smith, and it has that blocked off for that time. So on your calendar, I like using the weekly calendar versus the day calendar versus the monthly calendar. So if I was looking at the monthly calendar, it's really hard. You can click in there, but you can't block off time. If you double click, it's going to take you to your day calendar. And I just find over the years working specifically with salespeople, but this is really for anyone, the work week is probably the best because it gives you, in the context of that week, what am I getting done that specific week, as opposed to looking at the whole month. I want to be able to focus on that week and what have I got going on, and so that works really well for myself. So in here we're still on Todd Miller's record. We're going to click on here, double click. And there it's still linked to Todd Miller's record. So whosever record you're on, that's who it's going to link to. So I'm going to take you a little bit deeper into some of these settings. So the basics is just this screen right here. And most of it's already filled in other than the regarding and maybe the alarm. And if this is a private one, say you're going to actually schedule it for yourself, you can make this private. And what it'll do is just show up on the calendar if somebody else looks at your calendar, and it'll just say private. They won't be able to see who's it with or what it's about. They'll just say, if they look at your calendar, it'll just be blocked off and say private. All right, the next thing is the details. This is where you can set up a bit of an agenda for yourself. You can use bullet points down on the right-hand side here and put it in bullet point form, type off. And you'll notice I'm working on this new modern layout. Yours may be yellow in the back or kind of a tan color back here. This is the modern layout. If anybody out there wants the modern layout and they don't have it, let me know. We can send you a little file that'll give you the modern look if you wish. But this is where you'd put in your bullet points and stuff like that for your list. You'll notice right here it says quick list. This is an advanced feature that we've added into the DayManager or into the advisor, which is our template that we're using here, where you can actually go in and put in lists of things you want to talk about. And then it will add those items to your agenda. So you can actually do that with a quick list. We usually for people who are not using the advisor, it's called objectives, and we'll do the same thing. All right, so you can put all your lists in, press OK, and now you have an agenda, and you can see it's got a little eye there saying that there's other information there besides just the activity. So if you double click on there, you can pull that up and you can be able to see what's going on. You can also hover over it, and my mug is in the way here. Let me just let me unlock that and just move me out of the way. And so if I hover over this, sorry. If I hover over that, you can see there that that it's showing a little bit, just a brief view, and then it pulls away. So as soon as I click on here, there you go. It'll show it up. Now, it only gives one line of the details, so if you need to know more, double click, pull it up, and it's going to show you more of the details, and then you can go into the details screen as well. And then you have all this formatting that you can do as well to it, which we won't go into. All right, so now the next thing, and this is all basic with ACT. This is what comes with ACT, other than, again, the modern layout that you're seeing here. Now, the other thing I want to do is I want to just show, let's just say you had a call, and let's use Todd Miller again. And so we're going to create a history, and I'm just going to run you through a scenario. So there's a call comes in, and receive call. Sorry, I keep getting this one window popping up in front of me here for some reason. Okay, receive call. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put in here what it was regarding, some blah, blah, blahs about it. And then he said, this person, Todd Miller, says, hey, can you have so-and-so give me a call? I want to whatever. So click on the follow-up. And I'm going to put in here, it's automatically got Todd Miller in here. So I'm going to hit send new info, whatever that is. It could be a brochure, it could be what have you. Now this little button down here where it says schedule for, this is your delegation button. So if you click on that, you can now delegate this to some other member of your team. So I'm going to send this to Jared Rundle, press OK, and then it'll, up at the top there, it says you are scheduling for on behalf of Jared Rundle. So now this is going to go into his calendar and task list. So one of the things you're going to want to do if you're going to delegate, don't make it a specific time. Make it timeless. And in order to make it timeless, just click on the start time and go timeless. Unless there is a specific time this needs to be done. In a lot of cases, you want to leave the person you are delegating to, you want to give them the freedom to be able to choose when they want to actually do that. What I would say in here, send info needs to go out today. And then what you're going to do is you're going to put a 0-minute alarm. So what will happen is as soon as you press OK, it's like a relay race. It's like you handing the baton to the person that's running in front of you, and they're grabbing the baton. And now it's not your responsibility anymore. It's their responsibility. So they'll get an alarm. They'll be able to read this, say, hey, send new info. It has to go today. You can go into your details and type in more information in there specific of what you want them to do. And then once you press OK, that's done. And then I can say done with the history. Now you don't have to do a history to do this. You can just create an activity. You sure want to make changes? Yes. All right. So now let's just go look at Jared's calendar. So we're looking at Jared's calendar, and nothing seems different unless I click on today, which is Thursday, and you can see in there Todd Miller. It's showing up as just an item on the right-hand side. So you're going, well, heck, it's not sitting on the calendar, and that's because it's timeless. So there's one more thing you can do with a timeless activity. Click on Use Banner, press OK, and what it'll do is it'll show it up at the top. Now there's a limit of 5. It'll only show 5 up at the top. It won't show any more than 5. And so this is important that when you're scheduling for someone else, so let's just go through that again. Let's go back over to my calendar. Oops. Back over to my calendar. And let's just say I wanted to schedule something with Todd Miller again for somebody else. I can go over here and say schedule it to do. Schedule it for, let's say, Tanya Lang. Okay. Book appointment. Appointment. Close enough. We'll do the abbreviation for next week. And then I'm going to have this, I can put on some time again, but I'm going to make this timeless. As you can see here, it's timeless. I'm going to create a banner for this, and I'm going to create this for a 0-minute alarm, and then I can put some instructions in there and then press OK. So now that's gone off the calendar. The calendaring in ACT is actually fairly easy. It's fairly intuitive. There's not a lot of work to try to hunt this down. But what I want to show you here is the ability to, and I'm sorry I'm sniffing here. I've got like I said, I got a bit of a cold here. What I want to show you is some stuff in here that is going to make your life a little bit easier as you do some productivity stuff. I will be doing a video on demand video that goes through the details of this in detail, just specific with the basics. But because we're doing a webinar, I wanted to kind of show you a few extra things in here. So the next thing I want to do is, now that we've delegated that, let's go over to the task list. And this is one of the things that you can use the task list for, is going over here and saying, okay, I want to see the stuff for Jared Rundle. Sorry, there we are. Unselect me, press OK. And so in here you've got Jared Rundle, and one of the things you'll do is go over to options. Okay, there we are. And we're going to customize columns. And then we're going to go over here, and where it says scheduled for, scheduled by, we just double click, press OK. And then you can see up here, scheduled by, I'm just going to adjust this a little bit and drag this one over here. There we go. So you've got scheduled for, scheduled by. So this is scheduled for Jared. It was scheduled by Gary. So I can really quickly go in here and see all the stuff that I've delegated to Jared. And if I want to change that to Tanya, I can go over here and say, okay, I want to see Tanya's as well. And it'll show the ones that are for both of those. Now it'll have everything else in there that they'd have, but then you can sort it by the scheduled by. So if there was a bunch of scheduled by other people, I could just say, here, I want to see all the stuff that I've scheduled for them. And these would be open activities, things that have not been completed yet. All right. So that's one way of managing anything that you're going to delegate to someone else. Now, a lot of this stuff has been reactive type. Now, proactive. Proactive would be, I had a meeting with somebody, right? And maybe it was, I'm creating a history that I had a meeting, but there was no action item initiated by the person that I was dealing with. And so I think to myself, and this is something that you should do each time that you have a meeting, a call meeting, or to do, or any kind of interaction with a client, ask yourself the question from a proactive standpoint, what's next? What do I need to do next? Instead of just leaving it and moving on, and we get so busy that sometimes we do that, and sometimes we do that a lot. But how do we move? How do we shift out of that and say, we just want to take a breath and say, okay, what's next with this individual? Should I follow up in a week, 2 weeks, a month? Maybe whatever is done has been done. So I'm just going to set up a reoccurring activity just to touch base with them once a quarter. I'm just going to give them a phone call. So how you would do that, and let's just say that this was, well, let's just pick somebody from our database here, view all contacts. And let's just pick Danny Smith. No, not Danny, he's one of the kids. So we're going to go over here and choose, yeah, we'll use Danny. We're trying to get him to do something with him as well. So we're going to go over here and we're going to create an activity. So we're just going to do a call. And we're going to do this, let's just say in April, let's say on a Thursday. And we're going to call, and some people like to have it, and here's a really important thing. Some people like to have time-specific activities. Some people just want to be reminded that day. I tried doing just being reminded that day. I got so slammed with other things that from a priority level that it never got done. So I had to shift a few years ago to time specific, because if I didn't do it time specific, sometimes it would not get done. So I'm going to kind of follow what I'm doing now. So I'm going to call at 10:30, and let's say it's 15 minutes, and I'm going to just type in here touch base. And then what I want to do is I want to do a reoccurring, and I want to do this monthly, and I want to do it every 3 months. So every 3 months, I'm going to reach out to him and say, hey, how's it going? Just touching base. I'm going to do it around the same time on that. And so instead of the 14th, because that may end up landing on a weekend, I'm going to say the first, yeah, let's use the first Thursday of every month. Okay, and so once you've got your little filter set up the way you want your reoccurring, press OK, and it's done. It's just going to remind me now to just do a follow-up. I don't have to think about it. It's just going to show up on my calendar, and then I can make that call. And so that is a proactive activity. Anything that's going to be, and it doesn't have to be reoccurring, it's just something you're going to do. You could just reach out to a person and say, hey, I want to touch base with you. You sent out a proposal. You've sent them something, or you've had a meeting and you want to do a follow-up. Whatever it is, what is that next step? Make sure you get it into your calendar. All right. So we're at halfway through. We're going to go a little bit further in here because I did want to show you. We're going to create an activity, let's say right here. And we're going to do a 0 alarm. And we're going to, let's say here, it's with Danny Smith. And we're just going to call this, let's just put in our blah blahs there. So one of the things you're going to want to do is, and I noticed this in some people who've been using ACT for a long time, they don't get in the habit of clearing activities. And you want to get into the habit of clearing your activities for that specific day. And so what happens is, if you've got an alarm for it, and some people may not, and we'll talk about that as well, press OK, you're going to get an alarm window that pops up like this. And you may have a bunch of alarms that are cascading down the bottom of this. If you click this little arrow, that'll show details if you wanted to see more details about each activity. And so in here, some people will just move this out of the way. Some people will minimize this. And what it does is it puts it right down here. And then if you click on it again, it was off the screen, and so I clicked it the wrong way. So let's just do another one here. Because I want to show you. Excuse me. Oh. We're going to do a 0-minute alarm. Press OK here. All right, so there's the alarm. So I wanted to go through the list here of just talking about what is on this on these alarms here. So you've got, or based on these alarms, you've got select all. This would be as if you had a bunch of people in here and you want to select them all at one time and do something with them. Like snooze them. You can snooze them from anywhere from 5 minutes to a week. Don't abuse the snooze button. It's not like the one beside your bed. Then you've got clear alarm. Clear alarm does not clear the activity. It just says don't bug me anymore. It still has an open activity. It does not clear it. Clear activity clears the activity. And so if you go clear activity, it'll pop up with this little window. You can type in your blah, blah, blahs. If there's a follow-up or an action item out of that, or a proactive, I think I'll follow up in a week based on the conversation we had, I can do a follow-up and do something there as well. We're not going to clear that. And then the next thing is we're going to go to reschedule, as if you want to bring up the activity again and do something with it. And then go to takes you to the contact record, which I want to do. So I'm going to go click go to, takes me to this person's record. So let me move me over here. All right. So what I want to show you now is we're on Danny's record. I want to go over here to the activities tab, because each person has an activities tab. And I want to show you why it's important to create a history or to clear an activity. Now, you not necessarily, in fact, you probably won't clear an activity from the contacts record. You'll probably do it from the calendar or from the task list. But I want to show you here because I want you to see what actually goes on. So if I actually go in here and clear this activity, so here's the one that the blah, 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 or the touching base, either one doesn't matter. And if I go over to his history record right now, you'll see a bunch of default stuff in the history. I'm just going to filter system changes out. And this is something that you'll want to do, is you really don't need to see system changes. So when I take the system changes out, there's nothing there other than system changes. So when you have all these cool filters, and take the time to investigate and examine these different filters that you can mess around with. Just remember, and we've had quite a few calls where people said, "Hey, I'm missing all of this stuff." Just check your filters. If it looks like you're missing data, check your filters, because you may have a filter on from a previous time you were doing something. So unselect that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back over to the activities and say, okay, this particular activity was done, and I'm going to clear it off, check it off, pops it up, put in my blah, blah, blahs, press OK. There was no activity out of that, and you'll see that it goes missing here. And then if I go over to my history, it's now that this particular thing was done, meeting was held. All right, so you can see that it moves from one to another. Where you also see this is in the calendar. When you clear an activity, you see that that's crossed out now. So if you've got a bunch of stuff open like this, you'll want to make sure you clear them so that there's lines through them, if that's your choice through your setup, which there's another video on the setup. The other way of looking at this is through your task list. And this is where I use the task list, is I will filter this for past. And if I've got a bunch of stuff sitting in there in the past, I'm going to do one of two things for it. I'm either going to clear it or I'm going to move it to the future. So what I would do is I would say, okay, this one here, let's take this one right here. Say, yes, that was done. Press OK, and you'll see that comes off the list. This one was not done in February with David Lewis. I'm going to open it up, and I'm going to move it. And let's just say I'm going to move it to March 3rd. Press OK, and then that one's moved to March 3rd. So you can see how easy it is to kind of adjust and to move things around. Now I want to make a shift here. Because of time, I want to show you, because this is more of a proactive stuff. You know, we've showed you the modern UI. We've talked about some of the basics, the strategy. And we've talked about alarms, calendaring, deleting tasks. I'm kind of just going through my list here. Clearing and managing activities. So I want to kind of go into the DayManager again, because this is all about productivity. One of the biggest challenges people have, one of the biggest challenges I've seen over the 30 years of doing this is there's two areas, and we'll be dealing with the second one in a future webinar, is time or task management and activity opportunity management. Those are the two weakest spots in just about any organization, is managing time and organizing your time properly and utilizing it properly. And then the second one is managing business opportunities. And we'll deal with that another time. So whatever calendar you're using, I do recommend, if you're using Act, shift over and start using the Act. Even if you're using the Outlook calendar, they can sync between the two if you need to. If you're in a larger organization where everybody needs to know your calendar, you can work in the Act database, and you can synchronize to Outlook so the people who aren't using Act can still see what's going on, and they can book things for you, which will also come back into your Act calendar. So don't let that stop you from using the Act calendar, because you can clear activities. That creates a history so the rest of the team can see exactly what's going on. If they go to make a call to Bill Black and they look in there and say, oh, I see Jared called him last week and talked about this and that and the next thing, at least now I'm up to speed. And that's the reason we have histories in Act, is so everybody in the team has this synergistic flow of information where they can go and look at, and they have access to, and can make decisions from. All right. So I am going to just close down Act for a second here. I'm going to change this. And I had to do this. I was going to actually have a different machine. Yeah, we want that. And I'm going to make this old. But we didn't get a chance to, so I'm just messing around with the DLLs here. All right, we'll fire this up again. So now I'm going to show you DayManager. DayManager is really worth the investment, and we're going to, there is a trial for it, so you can give it a try, see if you like it. But I find that people who go to DayManager and start using this just to increase. Now, if you've not using the Act Calendar, you don't go to this yet. Just work with the Act Calendar first, the basics, then move over to this. All right, so I'm going to go to the calendar now, and you're going to see that there's a little button up here called DayManager. And DayManager allows to do a lot of stuff. First of all, let's go look at what an activity looks like in DayManager. Now, before we do that, you can see here, I've got client bookings. These are not activities. I can actually create an activity over this. So here's client bookings, and I'm going to create an activity over top of this. But there's a few things different in this activity. A lot of times, and this has come out of a lot of years of, oh, I want it to do this, or I want it to do that. One of the things is maybe I wanted to book something with somebody, but it's tentative. It's not confirmed yet. So I'm going to, let's go and put in here Miller first. Let's jump to Miller, and I'm doing it the wrong way, right? Because I didn't go look up his record. Todd, we'll do it the old-fashioned way. Takes a few more steps. That's why we don't like it. And we're going to put a blah blah in here. Okay, oops. And then what we're going to do is up here, I'm going to make it tentative. And it's going to be on-site meeting. So I'm going to type in here on-site. And it's going to be 15, let's make it 30 minutes. Oh, let's make it 45. Let's make it worth the drive. And you'll see in here I've travel time. And it's going to take me 15 minutes to get there. So now we have travel time and we have tentative. So let's just press OK. Let's see what we get in the calendar. So you'll see it blocks off some travel time here, and it also puts a crosshatch in here indicating to me that that's not confirmed yet. So once it's confirmed, I can just open up the record again, take off tentative, press OK, and now that's a confirmed meeting. There we go. And you can see it's got the time block on there. So that's just the entry screen in here. Let's go and take a little bit deeper dive into this same activity here. This is all, the only thing that's added to this is tentative and the travel time. And I think that's all we've got on that. And then if we go over to details, for those who don't have the quick list, you'll have this thing called objectives. So if you're not in the advisor, you'll have this thing called quick list, or if you're in the advisor, you'll have quick list. If you're not in the advisor, you would have this thing called objectives. And objectives, I don't have anything in there, but you could have in there sales call, sale meeting, and you could have all the things that you would want to do in those meetings. What we found in time management, people will block off time and they'll say, oh, I'm going to have a meeting with Bill. There's no agenda. They didn't create an agenda. What do you want to talk about? What's your goal? What's your objective? What do you want to accomplish from that call, meeting, or to do, right? And so make sure if you're going to, if you want to enhance this, this is a real powerful one by using the objectives. In fact, you could wrap this around any sales strategy that you have. So if you're using the Stradler training method, Sant, there's a whole slew of different training methodologies. You can wrap this right around it. So we're just going to exit out of that. Cancel, cancel, no, cancel. So that is in your details. Then you've got reoccurring, and availability is exactly the same. But now you've got another one called reminders. So I can actually send a reminder out to this individual just by clicking on this, and I don't have it set up. But I could check this off, and I could say remind them 1 hour before, 1 day before, 1 week before. I can do 3 different alarms or emails that will get sent out, and it has a template, and the template is adjustable. You can choose different templates for different activities. It gives you a whole plethora of different things that you can change, and I'll go into and show you that in just a second. But this just allows you, when you go and create an activity, and you can have each activity, so if it's a specific type of activity, it automatically will go in and grab that template and send out that reminder when it comes due. All right. And by the way, we'll do questions at the end. And you can go ahead and type your questions. You'll notice in this format, we've got a question area, and then we also have a, what is it called? Let me just pull that up. I've got it down here in the bottom of my screen here. We've got questions, and then we got chat. So the questions is the one with the little, if you hover over it, it says questions, and looks like a figure there, and then the other one looks like a chat box. So if you have any questions, go ahead and start popping them in. Hang on here. I just had to shut off my I had this talking back to me, so sorry for the pause there. Jared, you're still monitoring the Q&A from there? If not, I can pull it up in a minute.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm monitoring it.
Okay, good stuff.
No questions so far.
All right, cool. So if you have any questions, go ahead and put in there. All right, so let's cancel out of this. DayManager. One of the most powerful things that we did is called time blocks. And actually, I'm going to go into the settings part of this because that makes it a little bit easier. So these are standard, like this darkened lines going across here, current time on calendar, this red line. These are all things that are in the modern layout. If you want to have that, let us know. We'll give you that. That's for free. Modern UI, hide time blocks. Legend, that's the legend, the time block legend over here, where it says DayManager, and it shows the different time block colors, and that way you know what's what. So in here, this is like check for email. The other one is client bookings. And then the big thing here is, let's just go over, we got email reminders. There's a setup here where you have to actually set up your database and that sort of stuff. I'm not going to get into that. Then you have templates, and you can set up all your different templates. You can have a whole bunch of list of templates with different things you want to say, with merge items that get pulled into that from different activity types and that sort of thing. And this is where it becomes very, very powerful. And then send emails, and then you can set up your default. So any calls would use a specific template. You can choose your templates. So if this was a KYC call, for an example, then I would have a template that maybe has some instructions. Hey, we're going to talk about this and this, and this has a bit of an agenda. So each one of these reminder templates can have an expectation paragraph that's saying, hey, this is what you can expect from this meeting. This is what we're wanting to accomplish, that sort of stuff. That's something that is like a default that you would do for a specific type of meeting. All right, so let's just go back. So the one that I want to, user colors. Here's where you can actually choose different colors for your users. So let's just say Jared is going to be, and this is going on to, there we are. Let's just say Jared is going to be this purpley color, and then we're going to define, and we're going to make it lighter. So you have to be careful, and then we'll just press OK. And so Jared is now this purple color, and you can see there, hang on here, you can see, oh, you can't see it on that screen yet. There it is. You see Jesse here is in purple beside it. Oh, that's just, okay, I'm looking at the wrong thing. Sorry. And then, so I'm going to leave mine where it's at. So let's just go in here and let's just flip this over to Jared's screen. And actually, if we put an activity in Jared's, you can see it's kind of a purpley color. And so each user can have different colors. So let's go back to me. Now, so you can have different colors for different individuals in here. Mine's kind of bleeding through, and it's showing there's a meeting with Gary, and that's why it's showing up. This is Jared's meeting with me, and that's why it's showing there in purple color. The next thing we can do, let's go back over to our settings here, is, so user colors you can have, then there's time blocks. Now time blocks are used for, and I got to make sure I'm on the right record, make sure I'm on my record. Yep, cool. Oh, before I get into time blocks, here's another little thing we just added to it, and it's called show user tabs. So now I can actually jump from different users' screens just by clicking on their tabs. How easy is that? We built this for me, and then we put it in here because I just wanted it easier to get around to navigate between the different people. And if you want to see all the users in one big collage, you can click on all users. It doesn't do the time blocks, it takes those away, but it puts everybody on the same screen. And then you can go back to the one that you want to be on. But it's just a quick and easy way to move around. I'll just leave that on. So let's go into the time block. Let's go back over to my screen here, and we're going to go in here and create time blocks. Now, why are time blocks important? Many different people have talked about time blocks and why they're important. If you've ever, for those of you ever heard of Strategic Coach out of Ontario, they're a global company. One of the things that they teach is time blocking. And time block allows you to say, what am I doing in the context of a certain block of time? Instead of having stuff coming in and just free floating everything on your screen wherever. So somebody calls and wants to do a specific thing. You've got things all over the place. This allows you to say, I'm only doing this in this particular area. So in here, I've got client bookings, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 1 to 5 p.m. I'm not going to put anything else in that time block. So if somebody comes in and says, hey, can you help me with this? No, I've got client meetings on those particular times. And so in order to add more time blocks, it's really quite simple. You go in here, you go add, and you say, okay, what is this going to be? Let's just say marketing. And what color do you want that to be? And color comes up, and let's just say, let's just make it a green color. Can I pick green? Here we are, green. And then what I want to do is, you always have to go and define and make them lighter, because otherwise they can get a little bit too harsh. Press OK, and then we'll add one here called sales. And then press OK. Let's make a color for that one. Let's make it orange. Define. Make it lighter. Press OK. And press OK. So that, now we've set up some time blocks. Now to add time blocks, you can see I've got 2 in here. Check email, client bookings. So if I want to add one, I can go in here and I can just choose from that list. So I'm going to do sales, and I'm going to do this Thursday. Let's say Friday. Let's do it Friday morning. So you can do one-offs. So this would be a one-off, or I can do reoccurring and say I want this done in sequences like I did the client bookings 3 times a week. And so I'm just going to do sales, and we're going to do it from Friday from 8 a.m. Actually, let's make it 8:30, give people a chance to get to work, and then we'll go to noon. And let's have an alarm when that goes off. So when I press OK, you'll see that this is blocked off now for sales. And what an alarm looks like when an alarm pops up, it's just, and it's right in the window screen. It's not in Act. It actually pops up and says, a little alarm pops up there and says, hey, it's time to do whatever that time block is. Check email, client bookings, sales calls, whatever it is. It'll have a little alarm. It'll pop up, and it'll stay there until you exit out, and it'll pop that up. But I find time blocks are incredibly important to kind of keep you on track. And basically, you look at the day and say, okay, that little spot of time, I'm using it for this. Now you put your activities in that time slot. So I'm going to have a meeting with, let's just pull someone up here, Bill Miller. Press OK. And so now everything in this little orange spot should be specific to sales. Making sales calls, doing sales, whatever. All right. Any questions on this so far? I think I mean, we're just about at the top of the hour, and I don't want to take you past that.
Yeah, we got one question there, Gary. It's from Tara. She asks, what is the cost of DayManager? How do we sign up for a free trial?
All right. So to sign up for a free trial, reach out to Jared. So you want to send an email to customer service at corelogics.ca. He'll send you the download link. You can go on our website, but I don't think it has the automation part for that. It has the automation part for File Manager, but I don't think we put the automation part in there yet. So the best thing to do is just send a quick email to Jared. He'll send you a blast or an email back with an attachment. All you have to do is make sure Act is closed down, and then run the install, and then you can run the trial. I believe it's 15 days, 14, 15 days. And there's some videos. Jared, when Jared sends that out, he'll send you some videos to walk you through how to set it up and configure it. And Jared, if you can't find those videos, just let me know. And then basically go through the setup, set it all up, and run it for a week. If you need a little bit of an extension, let us know. We can extend that if you need it a little bit longer. But usually most people can dive in and get a feel for it in there from that. And if you're in Canada, don't buy it from the online store because it'll charge you in US dollars. For those who are this is just for people who are on this webinar. Okay, so you guys are getting the deal. Call customer service and say, yeah, I want it. It's a $59 per seat subscription. I believe it's $59. Oh, Jared, for these people, we're going to do a special just for these people, but they have to get a hold of you. Let's say they have to get a hold of you by the end of their trial. So you're going to check who's in the trial, and by the end of the trial, if they want it, we'll do $49. We'll fix them in at $49 annual per seat if they decide. Just for this webinar, but they have to request a trial from you, and you're going to track it. How does that sound?
That sounds pretty good to me.
Right.
Terry, yeah, I have you actually in our database, so don't worry about emailing me. I'll send you out that trial of DayManager for you to test out and see if you like.
Perfect. Yeah, a DayManager, and just there's so many little pieces to it. It can really I found it really makes my life easier, especially sending out reminders. I don't know how many times people have called me back and said, oh, I need to reschedule. I got your reminder. I need to reschedule. Something's come up. And I wouldn't have known that. And before COVID, I'd make trips in to a specific location. I might have had to drive 30, 45 minutes to get, they're across town to get to their location. And then all of a sudden, oh, I forgot. I just wasted a 45-minute, an hour and a half trip, right? So you want to just little things like that have saved my bacon. And the other big thing is the time blocks. I love the time blocks. So these time blocks here are just incredible on how much time that they can save you. And again, you're scheduling activities over time. There's the alarm. That's what the alarm looks like. And so even if Act is minimized, see, I'm minimizing Act here, it's still sitting up on the top of my Windows screen here, right? And so it's time to check email. Must be 12 o'clock. It is 12 o'clock. All right, so that's how that works. Is there any other questions on activities or on the DayManager, on some of these productivity things that you'd like us to go through again, or me to go through again, or touch on? Any questions coming up there, Jer?
Nope, no questions so far.
All right, so if you want to reach out to me, you can reach out to me at gary@corelogics.ca. Alternatively, and maybe more primarily, you can reach out to Jared at customer service at corelogics.ca, or CSR, customer service, the acronym, rep. So CSR or customer service, either one will work, and Jared will get those emails, and then we can respond. thanks for showing up today. You've been a bit of a guinea pig, and I apologize for that. We're still working through some of this connection from YouTube back into our new platform here. I love the new platform; it's fantastic. We're still kind of tweaking it, and as much as all the work that went into it to get it to this where it's at now. A lot of times we just need to get it live and say, okay, this did this, this did that, and then go in the back end and see, have the guys see what's going on back there. So thanks for being a bit of a guinea pig here. Appreciate your time coming in. We will be doing a Casual Friday next Friday, which will be direct to YouTube, won't be going through the platform, so we shouldn't have any little hiccups or anything like that. So looking forward to having you there. Hopefully this has been of benefit to you, at least for the the basic ACT calendaring, why it's so important to use the ACT calendar versus something like Outlook, where you can actually track the history, track the activities that are linked to an individual. There's just so much power there. And hopefully this has been of some help for you. And we look forward to seeing you on the next webinar, which will be in March. And good luck and have a great rest of your day.